Hello guys, hope you're doing well. So, Star Wars Acolyte, episode 1 to 5, which I have watched. So, it's kind of difficult because it's not good, but it is also, I think, not as bad as a lot of people are saying. I personally think that Obi-Wan is still worse in many ways because the production quality of Obi-Wan was so bad and just like Obi-Wan was just a completely pointless show. It had no, the entire premise was just ridiculously stupid. Um, but the thing of Acolyte at least is it seems to have good production quality. The sets are really good. They spent a lot of money on it. Obviously, it's like 180 million or something. So it's it has that. The biggest problem with it is that the entire show feels just completely feels like it was written by an AI. And I'm quite sure it was. Like the story, the dialogue, everything just feels, it doesn't feel like a human wrote it. And if a human did write it, then that human needs to see a psychiatrist because they have problems. Because it just doesn't, like, it reads like something a machine wrote, or just was the most generically come up with thing you could possibly think of. Like, maybe it was written by a committee, I don't know, whatever. But anyway, so, um, starting off with episode 1 and 2. Um, so I'm just dealing with these two together because they are sort of actually just more like one episode. It's kind of starts off with this character May. Just a warning, there's going to be spoilers in this. It starts off with this character called May who goes around. She's killing Jedi Masters for some apparent reason. We don't know why. Because they did something to her or whatever. Who cares? So she basically kills this one Jedi Master in the first episode. At the beginning of the first episode starts with that, which is a very bad way to start the whole show, if you ask me, because it felt so really, I don't know, it just felt stupid. And then there's this whole Matrix fight, which was, I mean, the fighting choreography and everything is fine. It's pretty good. It just doesn't feel very Star Wars to me. But then the Jedi Master gets killed in a ridiculously stupid manner. Um, uh, and then, yeah, so then everybody thinks her sister, which is Osha, there's a twin, by the way, it's May and Osha. They think her sister, the Jedi accuse her sister of being the one who murdered the Jedi Master. Um, because they think May is dead, but of course there's no actual proof. They don't actually know exactly that she's dead. Long story, we'll get to that. Um, so yeah, they think Osha killed the Jedi Master, even though they only have one eyewitness to this. And yes, May and Osha, for some very strange reason, even though they haven't seen each other in like very long times, still look exactly the same with exactly the same haircut, which is very odd. But anyway, so they think that Osha is the one who killed the Jedi Master. The Jedi accuse her of that by literally just taking the word of one witness and not doing any other investigation into anything like DNA or any type of forensic investigation like you would think they would do as an extreme high level police organization apparently. Um, they literally just assume it's her and don't look at anything else, like, you know, if she had any alibi, you know, people who could, you know, show that she wasn't actually there or had the work record of her working on her spaceship or anything like that. So they assume it's her. And then, yeah, they accuse her, and eventually that comes out that May is still alive, and then the Jedi realize that, no, okay, it probably wasn't Osha, it was probably May, and then, yeah, they sort of all start working towards finding May. May then kills, well, she kills another Jedi Master sort of by giving him poison. He's all like depressed because of what happened in the past, which we don't really know anything about. Then, yeah, that's pretty much the first two episodes. So I have like a stupid murder mystery type thing, which isn't really well done and just doesn't make any logical sense in any type of way for any of the motivations or anything or whatever. Then we move to the third episode, and the third episode is the one everybody generally complains about the most, I think. In certain ways, the third episode was better than the first two because the first two just made me very annoyed with the fact of all of the logical. Yeah, so it doesn't make any logical sense the way that they go about investigating murders. I don't think the Jedi are very competent in that. I don't think they should be in charge of that. But anyway, especially considering they should also be able to read her mind, and she is trained by the Force, in the Force, because she was trained to be a Jedi, but then she left. But she doesn't seem to be very capable in the Force. So I assume that a Jedi Master could easily read her mind and just figure out what was going on, since they imply reading in minds and stuff in the show anyway. So, and as we know, Jedi can read minds. You'd expect them to just do that, but they don't. Yeah, so the first two episodes had just too many logical flaws and just didn't make any sense within itself. So yeah, well, moving on. Episode 3, basically, yeah, it goes into the past. It's like 17 years before what happens in episode 1 and 2. We now kind of get some info into what exactly happened, what is exactly going on, kind of, I guess. This is the episode where we have the witch cult. And then that really strange ritual of the power of one, the power of two, and many. But anyway, it's just incredibly cringe. So my biggest problem, I guess, with this episode is I don't understand why we need another witch cult. We already have the Night Sisters, which have been established since Clone Wars. Why do we need another bunch of witches doing Force in a different way? It's just, I don't get it. It's just like, why don't you just use what's already there? Like, just use the Night Sisters, or like a breakaway faction of them or something. That would have been way more interesting. There's just another random Force wielding bunch of women who apparently call the Force the Fred, and it's, I don't know, it's just like, it contradicts itself within itself, because it says it doesn't use it for like forceful things, but then the demonstrations are all very forceful, and they seem to use it in a very forceful manner when taking control of people's minds and shit like that. So it doesn't. This is the biggest problem. It keeps on contradicting itself within itself also, and that just doesn't make any sense. Why? And this is exactly the proof of what I mean, where it was not written by a person. It was written by a fucking AI. I can already see this. So yeah, the third episode, like I said, ironically enough, I don't think it was as bad as the first two, maybe even, but it was just an incredibly cringe episode, which is just like, doesn't add anything, and just, once again, they could have used other things out of it. And in this episode, basically what happens is, there's some conflict that Osha wants to become a Jedi. May doesn't want her to become a Jedi. She wants to become a witch. And then May randomly threatens Osha to kill Osha suddenly, which is very weird. And then May just literally burns down the entire temple, apparently, on her own. I'm not sure. Like, I don't think we get shown everything yet. I think there's going to be more reveals on what actually happened later on, as the sort of fifth episode sort of tells us also. But yeah, May sets fire to a stone temple, which obviously makes a lot of sense. And then everything explodes and all the witches are found dead, which is weird. I'm guessing there's a big part of what we're still going to figure out what happens. And okay, the Jedi then take away Osha, and May, they just assume May is dead. Like, this is another thing I don't understand anyway. It's like, so I'm presuming the Jedi did some shit, because they just seem to leave and just not even go and search for May or anything. They just literally leave, and that's it. And then just leave with Osha for some random reason, and then just assumes he's dead for some reason, even though they don't have any proof of that. So then the Jedi take Osha away, who goes off and trains with them for a while, and May, we don't know what happens to her really, and that's effectively where the episode ends, with May standing in front of the Tree of Life. It's this weird tree. I don't know, whatever. Okay, so that was the third episode. Then the fourth episode is so fucking boring that it's pointless. It's completely pointless because nothing happens. It's also much shorter than the other three. At like, the other couple were like 40 minutes, then the third one is suddenly like 26 minutes or something, and absolutely nothing happens in those 26 minutes. It's just a bunch of people moving from one place to another. It's just like, yeah. And then, yeah, so nothing happens in it, except for, okay, wait, no, I'm wrong. The Wookiee master, who was also part of the Jedi, who tried to go in the first episode. Okay, I should have brought it. See, this is all just so convoluted. In the third episode, they go to that planet and then try and bring Osha into the Jedi Order, and then the witches don't want that, and obviously because it's their children who were apparently created by the Force, whatever, I don't care. And then they don't obviously want the Jedi to take her, and then part of that group is this Wookiee, who also becomes Jedi Master, and they find that Wookiee has been killed by a lightsaber, and May is serving this dark dude, this Sith apparently, who's trading her as the Acolyte, I guess, which is the show's name. And yeah, so the Wookiee Master was killed, and unfortunately we never get to see a Wookiee wielding a lightsaber, which is the one thing the show could have given us, but it doesn't. But anyway, so the fourth episode is completely pointless really. They just go from one point to another. At the end of the fourth episode, the big bad guy, the master of May, shows up and blasts all the Jedi to the side, back, and he's like, ooh, he looks very powerful, blah blah blah. He's wearing this weird mask, which I actually pretty like. It looks pretty cool. And it's just like, I don't know. I like silly prop things like that, so it's fine. I don't mind it. I like it in Star Wars. If this bad guys do shit like that, it's always been part of it. So yeah, that's pretty much where we end up the fourth episode. They're now trying to figure out where May is in order to find out if in order to capture her, because apparently she was the one who was killing all of the Jedi, the Jedi Masters. So yeah, there we end up. We're on this planet now. It's gonna be a showdown, and then we head into the fifth episode, and the first 15 minutes of the fifth episode is probably the best thing Disney Star Wars has ever done, in my opinion. Because it's so utterly brutal. Like, this bunch of Jedi get completely slaughtered by this Sith dude. Like, they do stuff in here that is completely unexpected, I think. And I think it's very generic in a way. And this is once again a proof that the AI is a random thing that happens. It's once again proof that the AI wrote the show. But yeah, he just completely slaughters most of the Jedi, and he is completely insane. And for some stupid reason, they reveal his identity also. And it's revealed that he's this other guy that May has been working with, who she thought was only like a servant of their master, but turns out he is actually the master, which isn't a shocking thing in any kind of way. It was actually completely fucking obvious that was what's going on. So yeah, then he slaughters most of the Jedi. He tears them apart pretty much, and he's like shown as being really powerful, which is great. I love that. The Sith should be fucking overpowered. They need to be intimidating. They should be like, if you're facing down a Sith, Jedi should be terrified. So I'm fine. That worked really well. I loved that whole scene, those whole 15 minutes. Unfortunately, later on in the episode, it starts gaffing about again. with bad dialogue, bad one-liners, and just bad acting. Fortunately, the episode's not too long, and when we end up where May is pretty much pretending to be Osha, but which doesn't make any sense since the Jedi Master Soul, who's the only one that's left alive, um, how can he not sense that it's May? I mean, he was the one who trained Osha, but he can't tell them apart by mind powers or force sense or anything. It's just, this is the problem. It's the inconsistencies like these which lead to people becoming very angry also. When there is inside this show, somewhere beneath all the crap and all of the bullshittery and all of the culture war shit and all of the other stuff, there is a good show if you could find it, and it just would have needed to be focused properly. You could have made a really good show out of this. But because it's such a random bunch of bullshit and doesn't make any logical sense most of the time, we end up with this show that doesn't work properly. And this is exactly, I mean, it's fine. You could say probably maybe the AI didn't write this, but I think an AI wrote large parts of this. It's just the way that it feels to me. It feels so, it just doesn't feel like a person wrote it. And I think the biggest problem. It's just like, if they just cleaned up the story and made things make more sense, make the characters more believable and make them feel more human, instead of so incredibly artificial, then it could have been a pretty good show. But yeah, this is what we've gotten. People are very unhappy. Understandably, in a way. It's a bit very overblown. I mean, it's getting Rotten Tomato scores of like fucking 13%, which it doesn't really deserve. I would give it maybe like overall 40, 50, maybe 50%, maybe even higher. In certain degrees, certain parts like the sets and stuff, I'd give it much higher than that. I really liked those first 15 minutes of episode 5. It was really good. I loved this whole brutality of that, showing how brutal the Sith can be. That's awesome. I just wish the entire show was about that crazy fucking Sith guy just going around slaughtering Jedi. That would have been interesting. Much more than what we got. But yeah, here we are. Watch the rest of it, and then we'll see where we end up. I doubt anybody will change their minds about this show ever. It's just become a whole part of not just a thing about whether or not it's a good or bad Star Wars show. It's very much now a culture, American culture war thing and everything also, which I guess is kind of the intent of those who created it, because I don't think the people who are really behind this really care about Star Wars as a thing. I'll be honest, I don't really care about Star Wars myself almost anymore. I used to care a lot about Star Wars, but it's like, I don't care. That's why I can watch these shows and be disconnected by really worrying about it that much. So yeah, there we go. I would suggest taking a look, watching it. Just out of curiosity, it's worth watching, even if it makes you annoyed or angry. And it has some really good parts. There's a couple of really good scenes to it. Especially that episode 5, 15 minutes. So I'll suggest watching it, and if you're not happy with it, just rage online like everyone else. That's what the internet's for, being angry. That's what Reddit's for, so that you can complain about everything over and over and never stop. Anyway. Well, that was my sort of review of episode 1 to 5 of Acolyte. I'll see. Maybe I'll do another one of these. I just wanted to just give some comment on the show since I decided to watch it. Please check out our website, geekum.co.za, if you're into tabletop gaming stuff. Some merchandise stuff like t-shirts, pop figures, etc. We ship all over South Africa, and we have a store in Morita Park, Pretoria, where we do tabletop gaming events, and we do stock all our products. So yeah. I will see you in the next video. Enjoy.